It's gonna be one of these again. Oh. Hideaki Anno. Some of you may recognize the name. He is a little famous, some of his more memorable works being Nadia, The Secret of the Blue Water, Gunbuster, Shin Godzilla, and... So yeah, he's a proper big name in animation, but did you know after finishing Evangelion, he would pick up the real-world camera and start making live-action movies? Apparently, the inspiration for this career decision comes from...
その時に自分でメイキング用だとか言って買ったんですよね。自分で VX で。それでですね、こっちで撮影してる横でですね、ずーっとなんか一人でですね、ぐるぐる回ってるんですよ。なんかでその頃から徐々になんか安野さんのですね、デジカメ熱というの。
From this newfound passion to use a digital camera would come Love and Pop, a drama that sort of feels like a documentary adapted by a book of the same name about a high school girl trying to make enough money to buy a ring through the use of compensated dating, or enjokusai. Compensated dating, you may ask, at least I really hope you ask, I really hope you didn't already know what that was. Anyways, it's a form of prostitution. God, I love it here. As the saying goes, human companionship is a very hot commodity among lonely people, and everyone has a price. For the main character of our story, that price is...
今ですと12万8000円でございます。
She really wants this ring. As to why, it's quite complicated actually. So how about we talk about it? But before that, some warnings. Spoilers for one. Whole movie's really easy to find. You can even find it on YouTube with English subtitles, so yeah. You don't have to watch it. My videos summarize pretty much everything, but hey, if you have 2 hours to spare, go nuts. If you liked Eva, I think you'll really like Love and Pop. It covers similar themes, and you can really tell it was made by the same person at points. Before watching it though, be warned. The movie is pretty intense and uncomfortable at times. One scene in particular makes me really anxious, but if you're okay with these things and can handle it, enjoy the movie. It's not like I'll be going anywhere, so... Well, now with those formalities out the way, without further ado, I present to you my interpretation of the events of Hideaki Anno's 1998 film, Love and Pop. This is Hiromi. She seems to care about her hands. She lives with a dad that's currently building a train set, a mother that's going to a swimming competition, and an older sister that seems a tad past uninterested. This is a story about Hiromi, more specifically a story about an extraordinarily eventful day in her mostly uneventful life. The type of day that turns the days before into the days leading up to. That day they led up to being known as July 19th. Though before the day actually started, she had a really strange dream. Hiromi's dream is a dream of a person that's become numb. In her dream, a man is forced to pick mushrooms for whatever reason, and a guard looms over his progress. Eventually, the man runs into a scorpion and cries out to the guard, admitting that if he does this, he will die. The guard pretends not to hear the man. The man has no choice but to continue. You see, Hiromi is just one more of the hundreds of thousands of disillusioned youth coming to terms with what exactly existing entails. She gives a speech about her outlook on life and the things she's noticed as time goes on, and besides being perhaps the biggest mood of all time, the speech also explains why she cares so much about taking pictures, a hobby she picked up about 3 years ago. When all the days begin to mesh together, when life does begin to feel like it's just the same thing over and over, maybe there is some value in capturing the moment. Taking pictures could be a way of trying to give moments more meaning, hoping that by deciding that this moment is one that you want to keep around, it will make the moment worth being a part of. Or perhaps it's just a way of accruing evidence to prove that no, yesterday was not in fact like today. Yesterday I met up with my friends and goofed off for a while. Today I goofed off with a friend while waiting to meet up with the others. Life can feel like it's on a track at times. Train tracks as the movie decides to show it. It can take turns for the worse, for the better, but it's still nothing more than just a path from point A to point B. A path you really have no control over. People tend to have hopes as to how their stories will turn out, hopes that life will disregard without a second thought. Whenever the dreamed up scenarios and the real ones end up aligning, it's never nothing more than a coincidence. Some people can't see 2 feet in front of them. Others seem to know everything that will happen before it happens. I don't really see a difference between these two though. After all, they're both just people that will inevitably say, this isn't how I thought my life would turn out. Now, while all this might sound bleak, don't take it that way. When this speech happens, it doesn't sound like it's coming from a pained person. These truths bother Hiromi, yes, but they don't weigh on her that heavy either. They don't make her depressed, they don't make her hopeless, they just make her think sometimes is all. I think the reason why I love this movie is because a lot of the words in it resonate with me on another level. Life being a train track is not even close to being the only concept this movie brings up. In fact, pretty much every speech in this movie puts towards things that bother me and make me think an awful lot. Yeah, I might be a dude, I might be 3 years up on Hiromi, and I might not partake in compensated dating, but that doesn't mean her opinions and actions can't be horrifically close to mine. Maybe that has to do with the fact that this movie is directed by Hideaki Anno, the guy that made Evangelion. If you've seen Evangelion, I don't have to explain why that explains a lot. Or maybe it's because it's based off of postmodern novelist Ryu Murakami's novel, Love and Pop, Topaz 2. Which I would have loved to read for this video, except for the fact that the best language I could find it in is French, a language I can understand at about a 4-year-old's level. What I'm trying to say is the topics this movie touches on are topics general to being human. More specifically, topics people in my late teen to young adult age bracket might really resonate with. I wonder if older folks would resonate with this movie at all, actually. I wonder if I'll change at all when I get older, actually. There's this strange feeling of perspective in this movie where it almost sounds like the opinions are fresh, but not. Like you finally found the words for something that you noticed a long time ago. There's also a literal strange perspective throughout the movie. I mean, have you seen these shots? You can tell Anno really fell in love with the camera. I think he might have fallen in love with the camera so hard he forgot that you typically start with the vanilla and then escalate into the more bizarre stuff out of boredom. Huh. Hell if I care though. I love the cinematography in this movie, even if it is a teensy bit unhinged. I also love how he plays around with the visuals, like changing the aspect ratio to better emphasize emotions, or turning the screen into a complete blur of different images, to show that thing people do when their eyes are still open and working, but their mind is just somewhere else. Sometimes it just does white text on a black background. Sometimes it shows first person. Sometimes it shows first hand. First leg. Fuck it, CRT. Ring vision. The lens is dirty? Don't clean it. It's part of the scene now. Stick it on a pipe. Stick it on a train. Run around with the thing. Put it in a microwave. Wait, do not actually stop. Some may call it pretentious. Some may call it corny. But I call it charming. It gives the movie this human feel to it. Yes, on occasion, classical music will play over scenes, but I see nothing wrong with that, okay? You can call it whatever you want, but at least it's honest with itself. Maybe that's why the movie feels like a documentary at times. A fake documentary that feels like it knows it's a fake documentary? A diary? I guess that would explain a lot. The first third of this movie is pretty much just a recounting of some prior events and things that matter to the main character. Almost like going through entries in a journal, all of which mean something to the story. None of this here is here for no reason. She talks a lot on her 3 friends, Shieko, Sachi, and Nao, and little events that happen throughout her life that explain how she feels on things. One of those events being how she felt after watching the Diary of Anne Frank, how it made her cry because it moved her, how getting moved like that by something makes her mind restless with thoughts, how despite how strongly she felt about it the day prior, the emotions always get smoothed over the next, how much she hates the fact that she just goes back to autopilot no matter what seems to happen. It's a really terrible feeling that's hard to put into words. How can someone be mad that something stopped occupying their mind? Why would someone be angry at how impossible it is for them to make a change for even something like that? That's why Hiromi respects her friend Sachi so much. Came as a random spur-of-the-moment thing, but she eventually started taking dance lessons for fun. Sachi said it would probably last a week or 2 before she got bored of it, but no, she just kept going. In fact, half a year's passed now and she's still doing it. She's even gonna pursue it professionally. Maybe the reason Sachi did that is because she got fed up one day about never changing and decided dancing would be the thing that occupies her mind from now on. I mean, it's not like it's everything on her mind, but it's the thing that she's decided she's okay with making her forget about other things. Like sexual desire for one. It's a strange feeling. Horniness comes and goes, or I guess spontaneously happens then goes unanswered. Hiromi has a boyfriend, or had. She had left him because it was one of those cases where whenever he wanted her, it was during bad times, and whenever she wanted him, you know, classic move, am I right, lads? Yeah! Wasn't her first relationship though. She had her first in 9th, and after that one ended, she got into telephone clubs. Think of it like old-timey Omegle. I'm assuming. I don't know, never used Omegle, nor do I have any interest in. Is Omegle even used anymore? Am I old-timey for saying Omegle? Hiromi reflects on this decision a lot, actually, and even manages to come up with an answer as to why she did this. There really are some days when you just wake up feeling a certain type of way, but people are busy and we've got more important things to do, so that usually goes unanswered. Then, slowly as your routine kicks in more and more, the feelings go away, but instead of being replaced with the usual emotions, it's instead replaced with an unusual coldness. You can try and fix that feeling by talking with your friends, but there are times when not even that works. Those are the times when Hiromi wishes to be in her boyfriend's arms again. Sex is whatever to her. It's more the desire to feel another person's warmth. She just wants a connection, is all. It's strange, but that's part of the reason why she finds the actions of her friends Shieko so interesting. She's able to go out on compensated dates all by herself perfectly fine, and even manages to enjoy herself. She'll even go all the way from time to time, going as far as to explain that even when it is a stranger, you can still have a good time if they know what they're doing. It's terrible what she's doing, but at the same time, it's strangely impressive. Shieko seems awfully prepared for adulthood. She even meshes with adults fine. That doesn't change the fact that she isn't an adult though. Apparently it also has something to do with her mother, and after getting dumped by this divorced man that she was into, she looks absolutely crushed, but it's best not to get into things like that. Hiromi lets us know that they are all amazing friends not because they tell each other everything, but because they know when not to ask. In a good way, that's meant in a good way. When they see Shieko struggling with this, they don't just go... They go... uplift instead of bring down. They just know when not to press further and let one another handle things. They just have that type of faith in each other. Nothing else is off the table though. For example, like why now is holding a stranger's phone early in the morning of July 19th. Apparently some dude gave it to her and said, use it however you want, just do him a favor and leave some messages. That would attract younger men to leave messages also. As to why, she wasn't told. Hiromi's best guess being, maybe the dude's just gay or something. It's not all that surprising that Nao would be the one to get caught up in something like this though. She's got an issue with saying no to things. As in, she can't. But Hiromi thinks that's pretty admirable. Well, that and her determination to accomplish goals. Nao is actually really big on computers, going so far as to save up all her money to get one. She's also big on dieting. I felt that. Surprising because those diets are clearly putting her through a lot of mental anguish. I don't think she's an angel though. There's some edge in there, like her secret interest in tattoos. Actually, the other girls have secrets too. That compensated dating thing that Shieko does is something that she's only told Hiromi. And Sachi also has a secret, but she's not telling anybody. Well, whatever. That's enough about Hiromi. That's everything you need to know about her and her life. Let's move on to the big day, shall we? July 19th. The eventful day in question. The original plan for the day was the girls were just gonna go clothes and accessory shopping at the mall for a beach trip they plan on doing during summer break, which will probably be their last summer break. After all, the next school year is the last one, and after that, it all just becomes time. Clothes shopping went well. There was some creep trying to get their attention, but besides that, all is well. After Hiromi picked out her swimsuit, she goes over to the jewelry store in a search for a ring. She's been thinking about it for a while now and decided why not at least take a peep. And that's when she sees it. A topaz ring. This is the one. This ring feels like it completes her. It's exactly what she's been looking for. And it's even on sale for...
Hiromi, 今すぐ欲しいんじゃないの? あの親父まだいるかな? あの親父って? 下にさ、妙におしゃれな親父がいてさ、一緒にしゃぶしゃぶ食べるだけで2人に5万ずつ払うとか言ったよね。
So yeah, in a plan to get her the money for the ring, all her friends agree to go on a compensated date with that creep from earlier. A creep that'll coincidentally pay almost as much as the ring's worth, just for some karaoke and a special request, a not sexual special request. And while that whole thing is happening, I think it's about time to mention the mammoth in the center of my small office space. What's the deal with compensated dating, or subsidized dates, or enjokusai? So here's the thing, right? It's disgusting, and is viewed that way not just over here, but over there as well. Nobody even remotely thinks that this is an okay thing. But since it's not inherently illegal, nobody can actually do anything about it, other than just give some stank faces and general disapproval. Compensated dating also isn't something that's exclusive to Japan either. It happens all over the world, because as it turns out, it doesn't matter what culture you come from, you can still be an absolutely deplorable person. I actually knew some people that would look for sugar daddies in high school. I remember once I asked them, is working at McDonald's really that bad? Well, yeah, it is actually. I honestly can't blame them for doing the things they did. On the bright side, an extremely dim bright side, these dates are always fully consensual, and both parties understand what it is that accepting the offer entails. You see, young people lack money, something that older Japanese men have lots of. As to why the older Japanese men want the young girls, it's usually kind of random. Typically, it's just to go eat something and rant for a bit. Other times it's just because they miss the feeling of cooking for other people and their friends are too busy nowadays. The movie does a really good job at humanizing these people and dehumanizing these people. It does both a lot, which I really appreciate, because, yeah, at the end of the day, these people are still people. Strange people, yes, but still people all the same. Whenever any of these compensated dating people are on screen, it's usually followed by one of the movie's better themes of the wrong people saying the right things. Being adults, these older men have experienced a good lot more in life and have a much more aware perspective than the girls do, which allows them to say things or give insights on thoughts that the girls should pay more attention to. The irony being that, despite them having this wisdom, this is what they decided to spend their time doing. Thus, it just so happens that the right things are being said by the wrong people.
親父の言っていることは案外間違いではない。ただ、あんたに言われたくないよと思った。
Minus this guy actually, he's really just strange. He paid these girls 120,000 yen to chew on some grapes. And, wow, I really hate this. I actually really hate, get it off the screen. Please, oh, make it stop, make it.
私は誰もあの男の話題をしなかった。別にタブーにしているわけではないし、援助交際をした事実が嫌で忘れようとしているわけでもない。あの中年男のことは理解できないし、理解したいとも思わない。だから話題にしたくないだけだ。ただ、この世の中には女子高生が噛み砕いたブドウを12万で買う人間がいるという情報は私たちに残る。
Well, mission accomplished, I guess. All her friends decides to give Hiromi their cut of the money so she can go and get that ring she really wants, and Hiromi says no.
みんなで分けない。
Huh.
うまく言えないんだけど。
If it were me in that situation, I'd say it's an equality thing. I probably wouldn't say that in the moment, though. It'd probably take me some time. You see, Hiromi's got this really major character flaw, and while it doesn't get addressed directly, it's been pointed out many times indirectly. She doesn't think she's all that interesting. She doesn't really see herself as a person that's worth much. You might have found it strange that earlier when I was telling her story, I spent an awful lot of time talking about not her. Well, that's because she doesn't either. In fact, anytime she says anything positive, it's almost always exclusively when she's talking about her friends. She never brings up any of her interests, nor does she say anything redeeming about herself. That's because she finds herself to be an awfully dull person. She doesn't care about taking pictures, it's just something she does because she desperately wants to give meaning to events in her life, not because she actually likes anything about the cameras or picture taking. What traits does she actually have? She's not mature, she's not willing to take risks and make changes. She's not the type of person that will grind up towards a goal. In fact, she actually has no goals and she doesn't want anything either. Whatever money she does get, she blows on random garbage or doesn't use it at all. She has no secrets she's hiding, no dark truths to uncover. She's just a bland, uninteresting person, unlike all of her friends. And when they disappear, then what? She can see the writing on the walls. As time goes on, they drift farther and farther. Sachi is already doing something with her life. Shieko already has one foot in adulthood and now actually has hobbies that she does care about. When people grow up, they become lonelier and lonelier. Making friends becomes harder. That's the reason why all these adults are willing to pay such ridiculous amounts for these stupid things. When all of her friends are gone, what will be left of her? She has no self-worth. Her self-worth is purely defined by the people around her, and soon they won't be around as much. So she can't accept the money. Because she wants to prove to herself that she is somebody that's worth doing that for in the first place. This ring will be her dance lessons. This ring will be the thing she finally strives towards, no matter how uncomfortable it makes her feel. This ring is the reason that she's going to dive into the adult world, get the money for it, and prove that she is ready to be one. She will get the ring without the help of her friends, and her friends don't question her on it, because they know when not to get involved, because they have faith in her. That's why they're such good friends in the first place.
この時、私はみんなと対等でいたかったんだ。という言葉を後で見つけた。
You know, I only find it slightly disturbing that I see so eye to eye with some high school girl in her late teens. Well, I guess a high school girl in her late teens as written by some older Japanese postmodern novelist, being translated through a man in his late 30s that is both insanely and hilariously depressed. So what's the plan then? Well, Nao still has that phone from earlier, so they decide to put it to good use. They hand it over to her, wish her luck, and part ways. Wow, she's actually doing this. Immediately, Hiromi tries to dial home, but her dad's too busy working with his trains, and her sister just can't be bothered. He did try to pick up eventually, but he was just a second too late. Yep, she is actually doing this. Well, a lot of names flash and a lot of calls get skimmed over. Eventually, the guy who owns the phone calls, telling her about what to do with the phone and not worrying about returning it till later tonight. He also mentions something about a dude named Yoshio, telling her that he might call later, and if he does, then do him a favor of telling him this. She obliges. Huh. Well, anyways, more messages later, she decides on this one guy. He's willing to pay 50k yen just for her to walk with him through the market for some shopping. Doesn't sound so terrible, and he's even willing to pay for the taxi, so yeah, that's the one. While on the way to her destination, Yoshio ends up calling. Well, at least she assumes it's Yoshio by the way he's talking. She tells him what she was told to tell him, and he tells her he is done with all this and is quitting. He also mentions something about a cat being really sick before hanging up. Huh. Anyways, she arrives at the place and the guy shows up not long after. They end up talking for a bit. The guy's a bit of a... yeah. They continue speaking. He says sorry for being weird. Hiromi smiles and says don't worry, and suddenly he's not into it anymore. But Hiromi convinces him and they go to the market anyways. 50k is 50k. They talk on the way there about a good amount actually. In this small span of time, the guy tells his story and it's honestly one that's really easy to sympathize with. That spit thing he does is some sort of disease, the spit being a tick he does because of it. The reason he looks the way he does is because he works night shifts at a construction. Because of this, he never bothers taking a shower since no matter when he would do it, he would just end up getting dirty again anyways. Still terribly flawed reasoning, but him smelling bad doesn't really affect him much since, according to him, he doesn't have any friends to hang out with. Anyways, the reason he's doing all this is because he wants to prove the guy at the market wrong. A guy who he says is always talking smack behind his back and kicking him out because of the tick he does. Also, what made him second guess this whole thing earlier was Hiromi's smile. After seeing it, he knew it was just something he couldn't get used to. Yeah, it's weird, but he can't be that bad. Besides, the request was a simple one. Just go to a video rental store and that's it. What's the worst that could happen? Huh. Guy at the front desk doesn't really care about him. Strange. Oh, he took Hiromi to the adult video section. It's even stranger. Well, since we're here, let's talk about it. I've never actually seen what those adult videos actually look like, so do they actually have these types of names? Oh. Strange joke, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, about these names. I've never seen something so demonstrably horny. It's kind of disturbing, actually. And I'm no prude either, but like, come on, man. Have a little bit of tact, you know? Huh. What is he... yeah, the porn names are strange and freaky. I guess when your target demographic is men that are down cataclysmic, it makes sense, but I don't know. Once the horniness goes away, wouldn't you just look at the title and think, the fuck is wrong with me afterwards? Who am I to judge though? People do what people do. And people buy... Did he just... Home still won't pick up the phone.
なんで
どうしたらいいのかわからない。どうしたらいいのかわからない。どうしたらいいのかわからない。どうしたらいいのかわからない。どうしたらいいのかわからない。どうしたらいいのかわからない。どうしたらいいのかわからない。どうしたら
The phone's owner calls again, Hiromi telling him what Yoshio had told her earlier about quitting and the cat being sick. Turns out what Yoshio meant by that was that he's quitting their relationship. Anyways, the phone's owner asks if she can return to him in a restaurant during the nighttime around 10ish, which would give her enough time to do one last date. What a nice guy. What are the odds he was actually gay? $34K to go. Hiromi decides for this last date she'll go with a guy named Captain Io, who's apparently with some dude named Fuzzball. Io's message comes off a bit strong, but at least it's honest. She'll have to go all the way for this one, which is new to her, but Shieko can do it, so can't be that bad. Plus, it's an easy, honest 34K. No strange requests.
こんにちは、はじめまして。私の名前はひろみと言います。私も
Once they finally find each other, they end up two ways across a trainway. Luckily, they both know how to sign, so they can actually communicate. What are the odds? After they meet up for real, he just tells her straight up. Wow, she's actually doing this. On the way there, they talk for a bit. He mentions some trauma he had with a girl when he was younger. She was freaky. Anyways, they go on to speak on the past. He brings out Fuzzball, which turns out to be... yeah, his entire life is based completely off of the Michael Jackson film Captain EO, which he had seen as a kid. What is this? Apparently, it was the last film he ever saw with his father before divorce happened. Fuzzball being the last thing his father gave him. He treats the thing as if it were alive, though. Hiromi ponders on how he's okay with being so whack in front of her. Then she remembers words Nao told her once about how when people know it's gonna be the last time they're seeing each other, they tend not to hold anything back. Or something like that, I think. Which makes sense here because they are only gonna be seeing each other for a couple hours.
私は今の時間を金で買われた女なのだと初めて自覚した。
They get to the Love Hotel, rent out a room, and continue chatting. EO, strangely enough, doesn't really seem too keen on doing this whole thing. He even looks less keen on it than Hiromi does. The more they speak, the more EO gets anxious. They get to know each other better. EO asks if she does this often, and she says no. He asks why now, and then she responds with, it's because she wants something. He then accurately assumes that that thing she wants is a ring, his reasoning being that she just has really pretty hands.
どうして指が綺麗だ似合うだろうなんて本当ですか嬉しい
Eventually, Io brings out Fuzzball to talk for a bit. When he does, Fuzzball's tail falls off. But luckily, Hiromi offers to fix it for him. Huh. He gets her some food, and when it arrives, we get to see his perspective for a bit. He seems really shaken. He seems extremely shaken, actually. He asks Hiromi to eat her food, but Hiromi just says... He tells her she's the type of person that he feels like he can open up to, and he decides to ask the question, if you could have anything, what would you have? She responds, bigger boobs. He questions this, asking why not be the smartest person or something, and she responds,
そういう人って辛そうだから
女子高生ってみんなそんな感じなんだ
多分
She decides to ask him what he would ask for, and he doesn't know how to respond. Then he just tells her to go shower and get ready, because it's time to do the thing. While she starts showering, something clearly starts eating at Io. Time passes, and then it stops.
こっち来いよこの子言うこと聞いた方がいいよな言うこと聞かなかったら殺しちゃうかもしんないもんな来いよ言うこと聞けよおい殺したりしねえから言うこと聞けよお前裸だろ俺は服着てんだよ こんなことしたらダメなんだよ。知らねえ男の前でよ、平気で裸になったりしちゃダメだよ。誰だってよ、自分のこと必要としてる人間が一人はいるんだよな。そいつがよ、死ぬほど悲しい思いしてよ、死ぬほど苦しんでよ、泣きたいような辛い思いしてよ、そいつがお前よ、大切にしてる女が他の男の前で裸になってたら、お前どんな気持ちになると思ってんだよ。おいなあ、どんな気持ちになると思うんだよ。お前全然分かってねえよ。自分がお前こうやっている間はよ、私のことなんか誰も考えてねえって思ってんだろ。おいなあ、とんでもねえよ。おめえが裸でいる間にもよ、死ぬほど悲しい思いしてるやつがいるんだよなあ。分かってんのかよ、マジでよ。ふざけんな。おい、おめえもよ、これでやっちまうつもりだったんだよ。失神させてよ、慕えてやるような感じでさ、金取って逃げるつもりだったんだよな。お前でも許してやるよ。話してて面白いしさ、ことも直してくれるからさ。
どこに行くの？
どこにも行くところがない。
どうするの？
何もしたくない。
誰かに会いたくないの？
会いたくない。こんなこと誰にも話せない。携帯返さなきゃ。
That was terrifying. There really is no word I can say other than terrifying. Luckily, the phone's owner is around to console Hiromi, just like he's done coincidentally throughout the entire movie. First thing he does is thank her. Because of her actions earlier, they managed to save the cat. And he tells her not to worry about the whole Yoshio thing. It sucks he's breaking up with him, but he'll get over it. Hiromi and him talk for a bit. He reveals to her he's a writer and that the phone is part of his research. He's trying to get more information on compensated dating. Eventually, Hiromi decides to ask about what Captain EO said. And the conversation went
お
like
前が
this.
こうやって裸になっているとき、誰かが死ぬほど悲しい思いをしているんだぞって。それってどういう？
そのセリフ考えた人って優しい人だね。だってさ、それはお前には価値があるっていうことでしょ。安売りするなっていうことでしょ。裸っていうか、自分の存在が誰かにとってとっても価値のあることだから、その誰かは死ぬほど悲しい思いをするってことでしょ。
おかえり。ただいま。
どうしたんだ。
疲れた。水着いいの借りたの？うん。
The sheer brutality of coming home after a day like that to the uncompromising kindness of your family is something I don't see brought up often in media. Her mother did surprisingly well at the competition, snatching a solid 12th place, and her father finally managed to finish the train he's been building the whole time, admiring it one last time before he takes it all down. Her sister is still, being her sister.
おやすみ。
もう寝るのか。おやすみ。
She lays in bed collecting her thoughts, then runs through her bag and notices the money is gone, and so is her camera roll.
"やっぱり指輪はない."
当たり前よね。
She reflects for a while on how she's Whoa, what the fuck is that? I forgot about this part of the movie. She thinks on her friends, how they make her feel, and thinks about what growing up is doing to her. She has one last dream, then the movie ends. What? What was the point of all of that? Just ends? No beach trip, no happiness, no resolution? Sort of feels like I'm missing something. What was Anno trying to say? Well, luckily for me, there's a behind-the-scenes making of Love and Pop. Hopefully they'll be able to answer some of these unanswered questions. The first thing the documentary talks about is the movie's ending. Strangely convenient. Then after that it goes over a meeting where Anno and his crew talked about the script. Specifically, the movie's ending. And that's because at this point the movie was actually going to end with a beach scene. A scene where it's a lighter, happier mood. In this ending, it was more like, yeah, the girls got their break and everything's going to be okay. Issue is, nobody here really likes that ending. Well, that's not it exactly. They like the ending, it's just that they worry people might not get what they are trying to say. The main issue for Anno at least being that he has no experience being a high school girl, so if people don't agree with him, he can't actually vouch for anything if they don't get what he's saying. And besides, why would a high school girl want a break? The documentary then goes on to what happened during the final days of recording, the days where the ending was going to get recorded. Also, the documentary is taking place from the perspective of this guy called Sato, a new guy who just started learning the camera. It might be weird that a documentary has a main character, and that's because it is. This documentary isn't a normal documentary. It often comes off like a commentary on the movie itself. I don't think Sato is a real person, and at best he's just based off of somebody, which means that this documentary is fake. It's a fake documentary on the making of a fake documentary, where it talks about the topics in the movie and even the thought process of the creator. A diary? A diary. Sato fucks up. A lot. He also says a lot of random garbage that's unrelated. He's a bit of a character, really. I can't really tell when the fake ends and the real begins, honestly. Sato ends up messing up every single recording they did on the Southern Islands. His bizarre actions and incompetence rendering all the work they did pretty much obsolete. But I don't think any of this happened. At least not some of it. The first half of this documentary ends with Anno completing the ending and just staring at it. Contemplating. He doesn't look very satisfied. Is this ending really what he's trying to say? Then the second half begins and it's like, today we are filming the climax scene between Io and Hiromi. Then says it all went as planned and because of that the AV director got bored, left, and is gonna go have sex with some random girl for point of view directing. Turns out, catch this plot twist, this documentary has a different purpose. Filming went fine, had its ups and downs, you know, the usual. Who cares about any of that? They're here for something special. The point of this documentary was to catch Hideaki Anno finally snapping on camera. Except they have a small problem. That never happened. So what now? The most eventful, interesting they caught of Hideaki Anno was him eating. That's just because he's a vegetarian. That's it. Anyways, back to the Captain Neo recording. Yeah, it's a snooze fest. So Document decides, screw it. Let's do some research on real life girls that do compensated dating. So he goes to talk to this lady. Turns out, she says nothing of interest. I've already talked about all this. He knows all this. And she says nothing bad's ever happened to her. More worthless recording. So they get the AV director involved, right? And he gets this other girl, asks her all the same questions, and then decides to do some point of view directing. Which leads them to go to the bathroom in order to do the you-know-what. And then they like, and then there's like a black screen and it cuts back into her looking at the, and it's him looking all sweaty, and all I can think about is, what is the point of it? They finish the recording of the Captain Neo scene and everybody's a bit shaken up. I mean, they did everything right and all the safety precautions were taken, many overviews of the events were had, it's just, you know, at the end of the day that scene is extremely intense. Hiromi's actors tanks it really well though. After that it's just, well, movie's done. They released it, people liked it, and yeah. The documentary guy agrees that the documentary failed to catch Anno having a breakdown and acknowledges it as a colossal waste of time. What? What was the point? What was the point of any of that? Entertaining, but what? Well, luckily there is actually one more layer deeper into this rabbit hole. A video where Anno calls call girls to see what happens. That's it. It's just 10 minutes long and contains 3 different calls. In the first, they have a pretty chill conversation. They vent about the economy. She gives them tips on doing the laundry and cleaning futons. Honestly, it's a really wholesome conversation. Not gonna lie, late 90s Anno is a whole ass mood. Anyways, in the next one, I kid you not, the person over the phone by complete coincidence brings up Evangelion to the guy. She has no clue who he is or what he does other than he does television stuff. They talk for a bit about work, Anno saying, he doesn't really like it much and he has some regrets. Then she proceeds to, by complete coincidence, tell him one of Ava's main points. And she didn't even like the show that much, or get into it really. After hearing what she said, Anno perks up. He's like, wait, she gets it. This realization making him understand that, wait, maybe I didn't mess up that badly. This brings him great solace. They keep talking as she brings up wanting to meet up. He says sure, but sadly she shows him up. Despite this, he thinks back fondly on what she said.
ああ、そうだね。そういうことだね。何やったって絶対ね、絶対全部当たり前じゃん。うん。やるようになってるからやるんじゃん。いや、今のことは良かったな。ありがとう。なんか今日ここに来て良かったと思います。なんで大げさですね、随分。あ、そう。いや、それがね、ちょっとね、いいなと思ったんだよな。ありがとう。
After this, he goes back and has one last conversation. They say hi to each other, and after some awkward silence, he goes, sorry, I'm new to this, I don't really know how to talk, and she says, all good, just call back when you do then. I think I finally get it. Everything. What everything is actually about. Love and Pop and its fake documentary and its joke what if video are all about a person who lacks self-worth. Yeah, no shit, man, you said this 20 minutes earlier. Okay, but look. This isn't the feeling of worthlessness that comes from others or events or general sadness or bad happenings. This is the worthlessness that comes from the lack of such things. I think that's why Anno decided to adapt Love and Pop instead of Ryo Murakami's other works. If you wanted something shocking, or weird, or dark, all of his other books are considerably darker than this one. I already explained why Hiromi does what she does, but I haven't proposed any then ones. So, what is it that Hiromi is supposed to do? Is she even supposed to do anything? Hiromi's a thoughtful person. She's also an introspective person. She reflects a lot on events and thinks a lot on things currently happening. Yet, despite that, she's unable to realize what Captain Neo meant without help. And even after getting told what he meant, it doesn't really hit her immediately. What Captain Neo told her was that she's worth something. She is an inherently valuable person. Her actions, the way she speaks to others, her understanding of things, it's special. It's her own. Throughout the entire movie, she constantly looks out for other people. She constantly helps out others. She repeatedly just assumes the best and trusts others without being asked to. Something that's really impressive since doing stuff like this is how she makes money from time to time. But she's not blindly trusting either. Never in the movie does she come off as oblivious. She understands completely everything that's happened to her and handles it well and moves on. She is extremely aware of the way she is. When asked if she could be granted anything, what would it be? Of course she responds with bigger boobs. It's the only thing that ever really bothers her about herself. It's not like there's anything else that would make her happier anyways. She's just honest. At the end of the movie, when she sees the film roll missing, instead of replacing it, she just puts it down. 'Cause she doesn't care anymore. Throughout the film, she constantly focuses on how all her friends have things they like doing they actually care about, and how it seems like they have it all figured out. She doesn't want to drop the camera because on the outside, that must seem like that's the thing she likes. Issue is, she doesn't really, not that much. But without the camera, she doesn't have anything. Except that's not true either. Throughout the entire movie, she constantly pays a lot of attention to one thing over and over, and she never even acknowledges it. Her hands. She brings them up in conversation randomly, she comments on them, she cares for them. The one time she goes out of her way to do something, it's to go to a nail salon so she can better take care of them. Clearly, it's something that just comes naturally to her, and it has a name, cosmetology. And it's something she is good at, even if only other people are the ones that seem to notice. There is a reason why the end of the movie just ends at the end of the day instead of at the beach scene. The beach scene was supposed to show liberation, a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. The issue is, like all things, something like that comes to an end. After the beach scene, then what? Anno reflects a lot on the scene and decides that that isn't what he's trying to tell people. Good days, bad days, they all come and go. People change, unchange, rechange. They experience days that last months, months that last days. Everything in life comes and goes. The only thing that doesn't is you. At the end of the movie, Hiromi lets go of the camera and stops trying to capture moments. Not because they've stopped mattering to her, but because they finally do matter to her. She has no need to try and prove that anymore. She has no ring, she failed, but she knows she'll move on. Feeling like her friends are moving on hurts, but she'll move on. Missing out hurts, but she'll move on. Forcing herself to stand back and hold on to those feelings will only stunt her growth as a person. Instead of ending on the beach scene, the movie ends with the dream Hiromi had after that day. One that's the complete opposite of the one she had the night before, showing that something has changed in her, at least subconsciously. Hiromi wasn't supposed to do anything. All she had to do was notice that no matter how terribly mundane she thinks she is, or how little value she thinks she has, it won't change the fact that other people don't feel that way about her. Because despite what she thinks, her life is valuable. Captain EO is a complete hypocrite and a terrible person. Pretty sure the reason he tore apart the camera roll was because he was telling her nothing good comes from clinging to moments. Funny he says that, because but what he said is true. She is worth something. And it's sad that it took the wrong person to say that to her, in order for her to realize. Yeah, maybe nothing got resolved, maybe Hiromi ended up with nothing in the end for everything she went through, but sometimes life's just like that. And when that happens, all you can do is crash in bed and take it all in. Her dad finished the train and is now going to spend the rest of the night taking it apart properly. Her mom didn't get first, but more importantly, she didn't cramp up this time and choke. And her sister still doesn't give a single fuck about anything. And Hiromi? Well, Hiromi got what she wanted. Equality. As the credits roll, a scene plays where she and all her friends walk towards the camera blindly in a canal, into the murky, unknowable future ahead of them. And this time around, Hiromi is right there next to them, because she finally sees her life as just as valuable as her friends. Hiromi didn't have to do anything, she just had to notice that. The reason I like this movie so much isn't because it's all about self-worth. It's because it's about the silly truth that often people that look into themselves and spend a lot of time being introspective can often be so blind. It's not like you can blame those people though. Seeing the meaning in your life can be so hard at times. Clearly whoever made this movie must have had a lot of experience with that.